One shocking news in what happened this week in Africa. From peaceful farmers to a brutal rebel movement, CODECO is a group that has been wreaking havoc in DRC for years. It's a coalition of militias, mainly from the Lendu community, and they are one of the many groups that have been fighting for land and resources in DRC, where violence and instability are rampant. Now, on February 14, 2024, they attacked a gold mine in Ituri, killing 12 people and kidnapping 16 others. This was not an isolated incident, but rather a continuation of a long-standing conflict that has plagued the region. And Ituri is one of the worst affected areas by the conflict, where CODECO and its militias have been accused of terrible massacres and war crimes by the UN. Meanwhile, on the same day, on the other side of the country, 2 South African soldiers were killed in the North Kivu province, where they are part of the peacekeeping missions sent, to combat the rebels, and they were the first casualties since South Africa and other SADC countries deployed thousands of troops in the eastern part of DRC. But their task is daunting, as more than 120 armed groups operate in the region, including M23, which is accused of receiving support from Rwanda. As a result of these conflicts, millions of people flee their homes, making it one of the world's biggest humanitarian crises. Now, my question to you is this: why should the Congolese people endure war for this long? How can peace and stability be achieved in DRC? And is war really the solution? Now, this is my 2 cents. Looking back at, at a completely different event, different conflict, the civil war in Angola lasted 27 years from 1975 to 2002, and the only thing that stopped the war was negotiation, which led to a peace agreement after the death of Jonas Savimbi, the rebel leader, who had rejected previous negotiations. I mean, they tried war clearly and it didn't work. And look at Angola today. Now, I am not suggesting that negotiations alone will solve all the problems. They also need to be supported, need to be backed by social changes and policies that improve the quality of life and the standard of living of the people, and give the people something to value, something to hold on, because people who have nothing to lose are very hard to defeat. I mean, if it were 1 or 2, 2 max rebel groups, I can understand, we can work with that. But here we are talking about over 120 armed groups in the country. Listen, you cannot tell me that some of them do not have a legitimate grievance that the government can address through, negotiation and, stop some of the conflicts, because we don't need that. The Congolese people in that region have suffered enough. Anyways, my last point is this. Many so-called analysts or experts have attributed the violence in Eastern DRC to the competition over the country's vast mineral wealth, such as gold, diamonds, coltan, cherry-picking the old narratives. However, this explanation is too simplistic, and it ignores the complex historical, political, and regional factors that have contributed to the instability in DRC. As a close friend pointed out to me, the idea that the conflict is driven by mineral resources implies that the resources cannot be plundered during peacetime, which is clearly a fallacy. There are many countries, many peaceful states on the African continent that are being exploited by foreign corporations and governments, often with the complicity of local elites. Therefore, the question remains: why should the Congolese people endure war for this long when peace does not even guarantee justice or development? Please discuss and contrast, but remember, there are no enemies in politics, because these leaders can turn around, and shake hands after the war and laugh, and that's it. But the only people who really lose in a war are the families of the victims, what they call casualties, including the families of soldiers who were sent to the battlefield to die for reasons they know nothing about. Because, I mean, I don't even know. Like I always say, when it comes to the crisis in DRC, if someone's break it down to you and explain it to you properly, and after the explanation, you say you understand that crisis, then it means they didn't explain it to you properly, because it is not supposed to make sense. It doesn't make any sense. Anyways, I've changed the format a little bit. Instead of giving 5 stories, I will be giving 1 story and just elaborate on it. Thank you very much. It's every Sunday. Take care. Like, subscribe, share. Peace.
We, ni nini?